Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to your practical application of astrology and my personal story share. So this is going to be the last one for this astrological year because, as we know, Pisces season is about to end and Sun is about to enter into the sign of Aries in few days' time, and we are going to start a brand new astrological year. And of course, this is all built up towards the first eclipse of 2024, which I will be covering next week. I have already released my astrological forecast for next week. However, as the eclipse is happening on Monday the 25th, I made the decision to do it in my own time, which I know is very different from everybody else out there, because I believe majority of astrologers already posted their eclipse interpretation. But this is where I had to really have a sit with myself and tune into my own energy and my own guidance and what I feel is right for me. So this is kind of like a side note of leading this whole conversation into the topic that I want to address. And again, it's about where are we comparing ourselves, or where do we feel we are lacking, and where do we feel out of balance with our own being because of the external world and externalization of too much power. So I might as well stay there. Like, yes, I have observed that pretty much everyone already posted their eclipse video, which is there is no right and wrong. And of course, straight away, you know, the inferior ego comes out and it starts like, oh, well, isn't that something I should be doing? Because I really had to contemplate before I recorded my astrological forecast, am I going to include it or not? Because of course, it's happening on Monday. So it's like beginning of a new week, but technically all the energies that are going to be taking place next week are connected to the eclipse. There is the build up for it, but for whatever reason, I personally was being guided not to include it. I was being guided to make a separate video about that, but then there is all these reminders like, oh, this person already posted, that person already posted, and there was an opportunity for me to observe, which is actually something that I want to fully fall into as the main topic for this conversation, that I allowed that doubt, the self-doubt that, oh, was I being wrong? Am I being lazy? Or what's going on there, to take me out of balance. And this is something which I also observed from different aspects, different point of being, different points of experience in my week this week, that universe has been presenting me personally with all these opportunities to see where I allow the external to take me out of my own balance. And I did a channel for myself, personal channeling message, where universe pointed this out all the time, like you need to learn to remove the charge, from the situation, so it doesn't have the power over you. Also, the guidance that I have personally been receiving, because my time here on my Pluto line in Puerto Vallarta is coming to its end. I only have 5 weeks left. I'll be leaving next month after my solar return. And obviously, I'm personally also seeking a guidance for myself, that what am I supposed to like complete before I leave? What is there for me to focus on before I leave? And the main message I'm getting is that I need to learn to master my emotions, master my responses to the environment. So actually, this is the topic for this conversation, which I decided to focus this practical application of astrology around, because as I already mentioned in previous videos, astrologically wise, there was nothing going on this week apart from moon. And this is very interesting because, of course, moon is our inner world. So our entire focus this week was being guided to be on ourselves, on our inner world, on our emotion, on how we are responding to the external stimuli. Yes, of course, there were these aspects between the goddesses, which I already covered last week, that this rise of the divine feminine, and it doesn't necessarily mean just female, it means the divine feminine energy, which is very receptive, and the energy of it needs the creativity of the masculine as well, but it's the energy that birth is the water, is that from which things are being brought into the world, right? Like anyway, I don't want to get tangled and dig myself into a hole here, but the two energies that I was really tapping into with regards to this week was focus on your inner world, the moon, because moon was the only one making aspects, and then the goddesses, the rise of the divine feminine, which is all about receptivity. It's about connecting with yourself. Also with the yin and yang, this is something that also confused me, which is why I have 2 tattoos of yin and yang on my body, and one is one way and one is the other way. But because before I studied yoga, which actually entered my life fully with COVID, when I was being sent home from cruise ship, and I decided to study yoga and become a yoga instructor, which never happened, but I studied yoga. And I did completed my course, but I just never felt that that was exactly what I was meant to do with it. I learned that actually in the yin yang symbol, the black is the yin, is the feminine. Like the way I understood it, I thought the black part was the man, the white part was the woman, right? But it's actually the opposite, because the feminine is the moon, is the night, is the dark, is what's hiding inside, in the shadow, in the emotional, in the waters of our being. So that I find very interesting, that this week the main light, the main spotlight was on the moon, on what moon was doing, and the goddesses, which is connected, because moon is a feminine energy. Moon represents the yin, is the high priestess, right? So how this has been showing up for me, because of course I have nothing much to talk about astrology right now for this week anyway. I am going to mostly focus on how I've been experiencing these things emotionally. So as I started saying, because I know this conversation is a little bit like doesn't have a center, which I guess is normal with this Pisces season, because my brain doesn't really work in a linear, logical way right now. The things that I've been experiencing, as I started saying, was that universe was presenting me with all these different areas of life, different opportunities to be tested, to see myself, to be able to experience how much do I allow the external stimuli and how quickly to take me out of balance, and then how quickly am I able to come back to the neutral point? How am I able to just shake it off, like the animals do. They shake it off, right, and then they just move on. Like the gazelle gets chased by the lion, and then the gazelle just shakes it off and just runs off, right, if she doesn't get caught, of course. So how quickly do I have the ability to shake these things off, or just to let them slide, just like the water, to just let them flow rather than get attached to them and freeze them, in my beings, like get them stuck in me or not. So this was presenting from, like I said, multiple different areas, multiple different conversations. Even with my soul sister, we were having conversations. She shared something personal about what was going on in her life, which of course is energetically mirrored to what I've been experiencing with regards to my personal situations, and it really triggered me. And then again, I had the opportunity to observe myself, observe the old wounding, the old trauma that is still unhealed and unresolved, to see how this is still affecting me and my life and the way I'm experiencing my present reality, even though the source of this took place long time ago. And this is also connected to this belief system, the stories that we are attached to. And even someone like myself, who is super open-minded, like I keep mentioning, I have Jupiter in Aquarius in the first house, like super open-minded, but Jupiter is my skip step. It's squaring my nodes and pointing to the south node with the south node in Scorpio in 9th house. There are these subconscious belief systems, subconscious stories, not necessarily just from this lifetime, because of course for me south node in Scorpio, past lives as well, that are still running the show. So that's why, like, having the gift, the opportunity, the blessing of being able to interact with these energies from the external sources that just mirror it back to me, and then this trigger comes out, it's obviously straight away it reacts to it like, hey, this is something where I'm still wounded, where I'm still sore, where I'm still vulnerable. And thinking about it now, moon actually has been in a sign of Gemini as we entered the weekend, and that's where my Chiron is. So moon has been connecting with my Chiron, because even yesterday, when moon was yesterday I had the moon Chiron conjunction personally for me, and I was feeling completely out of whack. I was literally feeling all these heavy emotions, and I was even questioning myself, like, why am I feeling this way? Like, there is nothing going on in my life. My schedule is very light at the moment. I am doing a lot of inner work. I am focusing on the things that I know that I need to do for myself, especially now that my time in Mexico is running out, and I am just about to return to Europe next month, and my schedule and my way of interacting with my external reality will completely shift. It will be very different. So I was really thinking, like, what do I have to be upset about? What do I have to feel so heavy about? What do I, like, it was literally this really heavy emotion, you know, like just feeling really like heavy, feeling really like depressed in a sense, like a borderline, like a light depression. And I was like, where is this coming from? Like, what is all of this? And this is again because actually one thing that happened yesterday that again took me out of balance very quickly, and then I had the opportunity to connect the dots why that was for me personally, was that I was meant to speak to my parents, and we, you know, there is some kind of like agreed, not exact time because of the time zone difference, but like, you know, like roughly which time of my day and which time of their day we're going to connect. And I tried to contact them, and there was no answer, and there was no even like I could see they didn't like even see the message, nothing. So I started getting concerned. And my parents are obviously grown-up people. My dad is retired, my mom is still working, and I was like, why am I responding this way? Like, why am I reacting this way? And then I had the opportunity to go back a few years ago when I was actually staying with my parents, and my mom, she works night shifts, and she was coming home from work in the morning, and I was already up doing my yoga, and she was not there. She was not there. She was late. And straight away, the same fear. This is like a few years ago. So now I'm 39. This is few years ago. And the same kind of fear came up. And again, it wasn't a birth in that moment. It was a response to something that happened before that. So I was straight away like freaking out, like, what if something happened to my mom? How come she's not at home already? She's supposed to be at home, because there is this rigid attachment to this like a routine or this familiar, which is making us feel safe and secure. So you already might see where I'm going with this, and this is actually something that my friend pointed out to me, that you created this mechanism, this coping mechanism of experiencing reality where, and this is my big thing, even when I had the channeling at the beginning of the year, that was the thing that was straight away brought to the surface, that you want to control, you want to have things in control, you want them to be predictable, you want them to be scheduled, because it makes you feel safe and secure. So going back to yesterday, my parents weren't at home at the time when I was supposed to speak to them. It completely took me out of whack, and I was like, okay, well, never mind, my parents are busy, okay, I go and meditate, I reshuffle my schedule. But I could feel this energy, this emotion coming up, and I was like, you know, I couldn't just disregard it, like, okay, well, I wouldn't feel this way. I was like starting to question, why am I feeling this way? Then I remember this episode with my mom, you know, a few years ago, and she just actually stopped at the grocery store, and there was a lot of people, so she was late coming back, but it was the same emotion. And then we're going back to, okay, when did this all start? When did all this start? You know, when did it all happen? And when I was just over a year old, my parents gave me to my grandparents, because my brother was born. And then after that, year after that, my younger brother was born. It was three of us being born 3 years in a row. So it's my brother and my younger brother, like I'm 1985, and they are the next year and the next year, following year. My sister is then 10 years younger. So anyway, so I don't remember this. I was a baby. I don't remember my parents giving me to my grandparents like, hey, we need a break. We have a newborn. Can you go and take care of this one? And then subsequently, after my second brother was born, I spent more time with my grandparents than with my parents, because my parents had three babies, three toddlers between the age of 3 and 0, and they couldn't cope. I mean, my parents were very young parents. My mom had me before she was even 21 years old. So she was 24 with three toddlers, which I know that this was normal for in 80s, and especially in Eastern Europe. I'm pretty sure if people who are listening to this are of my generation or older, and especially coming from that kind of backgrounds, this was normal. People got married very young, they had kids very young, and usually they had few in a row. But so what I'm trying to explain is I don't remember any of this. I don't have a conscious memory of me being a 1, 2, 3 year old and whatever. Like I don't even remember when is my first memories, when I was already like in a kindergarten. So I must have been like 4, 5 years old or something. So anyway, but there is something within me that remembers that even though, yes, I was returned to my parents, and even in many cases, my parent will recall that part of my life as something that I wanted and I preferred and I desired, that I actually preferred to be at my grandparents, because then I was the only one. I was at the spotlight. Apparently, I was spoiled by that experience, whereas my parents were taking care of my brothers. But when we look at it from the perception of a child that doesn't understand, the child that doesn't understand the concept of reality and the reasoning of the adult world, then it's still a sort of abandonment. Why was I not special as the baby that was just being born? Why was I being given to my grandparents? So it was like this every single time that I was being passed on to my grandparents. And again, I'm not trying to make this sound like a victim story or something. I'm just trying to understand myself. So perhaps through me trying to understand my own reactions to my current situation, other people maybe can put some dots together for themselves and understand why things might be happening for them, especially this week because of this deep Pisces energy, and we are on the precipice of this Sun-Neptune conjunction, and then subsequently Sun moving into the sign of Aries in a few days' time. So I don't remember any of this, but there is something within me that remembers. So every time that there was some kind of, and I'm sure there were other things which right now I cannot recall the memory of, but things where my parents potentially should have picked me up and whatever happened or something, but there was this continuous re-experiencing of this abandonment, that I was not needed, I was not liked because whatever, I was not a boy, or I was, there were younger ones. I'm the oldest one of 4 children, so there were always younger children than I. So this is what I mean. So then later on in life, every time somebody doesn't show up on time, and I used to be, not as much now I'm much more relaxed, especially since being in Mexico, that, oh yeah, 5 minutes late, 10 minutes, half an hour late, okay, well, life happens, nothing is set in a stone. But I was even brought up by my dad, who is very strict with regards to these things. If you are 1 minute late, I got grounded. Literally, he said, you always be at least 5 minutes early than 1 minute late. So this is how I was being brought up. So throughout my adulthood, I always made sure I was on time. But because of that, I then expected other people be on time. And if they weren't, all this old emotion would come out. The emotion of, maybe I'm not good enough. They're not gonna turn up. They're not gonna turn up, or they abandoned me, or something happened to them, or any of these things. So this is how throughout this week and all these different topics, like I said, there was a trigger because of the conversation I had with my good friend and the personal experience she was sharing with me, which triggered something with regards to my experience and my reality, and it goes all the way back and raises different questions and opportunities for observation and integration and looking at things from different perspective, but at the same time holding the perception of the child I was at the time when things were taking place, where all this programming was setting in. So it's the same thing with these people being late, people not showing up, people, because life happens and nothing is set in a stone. And I know that better than not better than anyone, but probably as well as other people that don't have really structured life, especially now when I'm digital nomad. The work I do, it's not exactly like every day the same, every week the same, every month the same. So there is a lot of so-called instability in my life right now, and that has been the case technically since I started working on cruise ships, because even with cruise ship, even though the schedule is very fixed, but there is always different passengers, different itineraries, different co-workers. Things are always changing. So I feel now, thinking about it, because I'm trying to fit things in a place as I'm talking about them, that is something that my higher self led me towards, that kind of lifestyle, to actually help me to become less rigid, to become less fixated, to be over and over again reintroduced with this fixation on certain things that was being birthed from trauma as a coping mechanism, that things has to be fixed, things have to be predictable, they have to be the same, because otherwise all this old wounding comes up to the surface and let's just not deal with that, right? So I feel that that was very likely one of the reasons why I was brought to have that lifestyle. And then afterwards, there was, of course, COVID, so everything was put in a hold because there were no cruise ships, going at the time, at least no with passengers. And then my life shifted again with the yoga and then astrology, and now I'm a digital nomad living this kind of lifestyle that is really like, I don't have a home, and technically I don't even have I'm a British citizen and resident, but I don't live there, and I don't have no longer Slovakian citizenship of residency, so I'm like a no man, not belonging anywhere. So I feel that my subconscious mind and my higher self is creating all this situation that is in a way helping me to face the things that are wounded, that are traumatized or still unhealed, and then create these reactions or responses where, like yesterday, it brought me down, it made me feel out of balance, it made me feel out of whack. And this is just a very simple example and very simple situation, because it's nothing like drastic, nothing actually happened. My parents just went for a walk, it was a nice weather, they went for a walk, and they forgot that I was meant to call that day. They had other things to do, which is natural. But this was once again another situation where universe was presenting me with the opportunity to see how quickly can my unhealed stuff take me out of balance? How quickly can I externalize my power and give it to someone else, completely being unaware of it, completely being unaware that this is taking place and this is what's happening and this is what I'm actually doing, because it's just so natural, it's so familiar to have this kind of experience that, oh yeah, somebody does something, it makes me upset, and therefore my whole day is now ruined or something. So I really had to sit down with it, I really had to go and meditate with it, and really had to kind of try to understand what is going on here. Why am I upset? Nothing happened. Okay, well, my parents were 1 hour late to have a conversation with me because they went for a walk, and I didn't actually had anything else to do that morning, so I just reshuffled how I was, the order of me doing things. But it was just this sense, this emotion that was completely irrational, the response to that situation that was completely not in alignment. It wasn't adequate. The response to the situation was not adequate to actually the situation that was happening. And like I said, there were multiple things throughout this week where this was the case. Different situation, different aspect, different issue, but the same energy. How quickly are you taken out of balance? And do you understand why? And do you understand where it all came from? And do you understand what is the cause for this? And what can you do to bring yourself back to balance and to be able to understand why is still this taking place and take the charge out of it? This was the main thing that was coming up for me through all the conversation, all the channelings I've done, all the interaction with the clients. The charge, there were two topics. One topic was maxed out. Things are maxed out. I think I already mentioned this previously. Things are maxed out. We are not going to get any more juice out of it. They're maxed out. That's it. That's why all this door is shutting in our face and saying, no, you need to deal with this. You need to deal with this now, because this coping mechanism, this way of reacting, this way of experiencing reality is maxed out, because we are in Pisces season and we're becoming very, very, very presently obvious. It's becoming very obvious. It's becoming very conscious to us. We're becoming very conscious to what is now maxed out, what is now not going to work, what is now not going to support us. So for my personal experience example, what I just shared with this, how quickly do I allow completely minor, mundane situation to take me out of balance? Like, this is nothing big, and it was not, like I said, it wasn't even conscious. It wasn't like, oh yeah, now I'm miserable because my parents didn't call me or I couldn't call them at the time which I wanted to call them. This was something that I actually found out as I was sitting with it, that, okay, why am I feeling this way? And then I was, okay, let's recap what happened today that led me to this point. And then I realized, oh, it was that thing. And then I realized, well, why? And then I remembered that thing that happened a few years ago with my mom when she didn't come home at the time where she usually always comes home, right? Which is like this, like when you feed the dog, I mean, what is it called? This Pavlov effect or something. I can't think of the word, but when you feed the dog the same time and they get used to it, right? Or they can just hear you unwrapping cellophane of their food and then go, like it's all these reactions. So it's all this, it's like this learned behavior because of the repetition, it's like this, and for us to change the pattern, we need to break out of the learned behavior because this is also, again, going a million rabbit hole here. This is also what the people in charge, what the media is using as a tactic of manipulation. They know that people are going to respond the same way because of the trauma and the wounding and the unhealed stuff. Because if people who are healed, well, first of all, people who are healed are probably not even going to watch news because they're going to go, don't care about your fiction story over there. But people who are healed and watch news, they're not just gonna go and be taken out of the whack every time somebody says something, right? They're gonna go, oh, that's interesting perspective, or like, oh, okay, let me go and do my research, or like, try to rationally explain it to it. Like, if we don't get taken out of our equilibrium, out of our balance, out of our state of neutrality, the homeostasis, just because somebody says something or somebody does something, is our unhealed stuff that gets activated, that gets triggered, this reaction to this, this learned behavior that actually creates the sense of imbalance. It's not necessarily the situation or the information, it's that which is unhealed. Because that situation, information, person just triggered something that happened a long time ago and is still unhealed, which is why it flares up. So like for me yesterday, when I recapped my day and I tried to figure out why am I feeling like this, and also I was feeling extremely exhausted. I actually had to have a nap in the afternoon because I was feeling completely like it was just completely irrational, the way I responded to this situation. But imagine that all these years that, like in this case me, all these years from babyhood until now, 39 years old next month, I've been carrying this energy. So of course, when this energy gets brought up to the surface, the system gets overwhelmed because like, oh my God, it's been 39 years already. Can you already deal with this? And it's not a judgment. I'm not even speaking to anyone. I'm speaking to myself. I'm not like pointing this at anyone, in particular. I'm just saying that there are so many things that we've been carrying for so long, which is why it feels so overwhelming. By this point, when these things get flared up again or triggered, we feel like, oh, I can't even deal with this. I just straight away feel exhausted even thinking about it. And that's literally what was happening for me yesterday. I had this trigger. I didn't even know what was happening, why, but I understood, okay, my mood's just gone from 100 to 0. Why? Okay, let's investigate. Okay, let's meditate on it. Let's try to understand this. Let's try to reconnect. Let's try to find the source. Where did all this begin? Okay, now I understand. And then it's this sense of overwhelmed. And then it's like, okay, now I need to go and have a nap to actually integrate this energy, to actually be able to, because it's all the same archetype. It's all Neptune. Sleep, dreams, like all this healing, integration, closing of the cycle. It's all Neptune. Yeah, the lower vibration is this escapism, like wanted to, confusion, stuff like that. So that was all playing out for me in one day. And I mean, I had my moon conjuncting my Chiron. So for sure, all these things, my Chiron is traditionally conjuncting my AC, is in my 4th house. So yeah, so that makes sense, doesn't it? So this is just one of the examples that I wanted to bring, to share, bring up on the table, because I wanted to potentially help people understand if there were things that were happening for you in your life, where there were people, circumstances, situation, creating reactions which were maybe not in proportion, maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but they were bringing up to the surface something from a long time ago. And now, what is the meaning to this? Because as I've been saying in my past video, there is always a meaning. There is always a meaning. There is always a purpose. Well, as we know, we are ending the astrological year. We are ending the cycle. Now, Saturn being in Pisces, we are closing karma, because Saturn is the karma, is the time. We are closing the cycles of the cycles of the cycles, like the entire thing that happened before. before this date. It's all been brought up to the table. It's all in a manifestation. Even in my example, this is not just the trauma I carry. This is a trauma of my ancestor line, of my past lives, of the collective, because like I keep saying, it's all connected. Everything is connected. Nobody is like a separate individual that is never been affected by anyone and is never going to affect anyone. This is not how it works. Everything is connected to the source. There is just this all feedback mechanism taking place at the same time. So anyway, so having this experience, like I'm pretty sure that there were people who were also experiencing things that are helping them to see what it is that needs to end, what it is that needs to be culminated. And the reason why is because this is where we are at collectively. We are culminating old cycles. Collective is made of the individual. So individually we are culminating cycles. Why? Because we are just about to start a new cycle. Both are coexisting simultaneously, the old cycle and the new cycle, but the new energy is already here. We are going to have this, well, of course, Neptune-Sun conjunction is tomorrow, because I'm recording this on Saturday. I'll probably be putting this out on Sunday. But all that said, Sun is about to move into Aries next week. Equinox, we're going to start new season. Before that takes place, Mercury is going to conjunct North Node. They're going to have a new phase, new cycle will begin, new cycle of identifying reality, new cycle of experiencing the world, because Mercury is the one that connects us to our extended environment by gathering information and then creating story out of that, creating a perspective, creating a storyline, creating an experience. And the experience then leads us to Pisces. Everything leads us to Pisces. What did we learn? What was the meaning? What is the gift of this? How did we grow through that experience? So again, if I turn it back to me, because I can't talk for you, I don't know what experience you've been having, but I'm sure there was some experiences, because it's the energy that's present with us at the moment, and it's showing up for everyone in different ways, but it's all bringing up the wounding of the past. Whether it's your childhood, which is then a reflection to your parents' wounding, because obviously if we as children experience trauma and wounding, that came from people who also been wounded, and the people who also been wounded before that, and this is how it gets passed on until somebody say it stops with me and I need to heal this, because I no longer want to keep projecting this and passing this on, so somebody else then have to deal with that. And again, there is no judgment and criticism, because everybody is where they're at and the soul is ready when it's ready, and there is no comparison. There is no comparison between me not putting out solar eclipse in Libra lunar eclipse in Libra yet, because I don't feel ready, because I feel that I still need to culminate energies of the Pisces before I can put out something that is connected to Aries season. For me personally, and the way that I feel energetically right now because of what I'm going through right now, for me is not the right time. And this is something that I need to honor. And this is again that's the other thing that I wanted to dive into, which I already touched up on with this full moon in Virgo, which we had, is this perfection. Because as I shared last week, this interaction I had with my dad the week before, so about 10 days now, where he was just attacking me with all these different things, all these different opinions. And then I was trying to again understand, like, what's going on here? Like, why is this happening right now? Again, is this taking me out? It actually didn't take me out of my neutrality as much as that them not showing up for the conversation yesterday, which is very interesting. And I guess it's because that is a overt attack, overt interaction with trauma, because this is something that has been very out there for me all my life, that I've been interacting with this energy for like majority of my life with regards to our family dynamics. But the other thing is hidden, this abandonment, sense of abandonment because of my babyhood, which I don't remember. I just get this reaction to situation, but I don't remember it. I don't remember what I did when I was 1 year old. My memory doesn't go that far. I don't consciously remember, but there is something in me that remembers. And there is a reason why my soul chose to be born into environment where this took place, where this was the experience that I had, because it's all this South Node in Scorpio with Pluto in Scorpio and Saturn in Scorpio that needs to be resolved. It needs to be resolved. Saturn and South Node in Scorpio. Saturn and South Node for me are in a new phase. Pluto and South Node are in a closing phase. They didn't have a conjunction before I was born. They had a conjunction afterwards. So there are things that are repeating themselves. The rule of the South Node with the South Node, you need to re-experience the past to be able to move on, to be able to go to your North Node, right? So this is in my case anyway. If the rule of the South Node is with the South Node, the past plays a role in your current life, big role. So anyway, so again, going into million rabbit holes, I don't even know where I started now, but I had to have both these experiences in 2 separate weeks, because like I keep saying, it's so interesting that literally every week the spirit gives me something to work on, and I never know until I talk about it. I'm like, actually, yeah. So like now talking about it, I understand. I had the week before, which I already shared last week, this interaction with my dad when he was literally attacking me verbally with regards to different aspects of my life that in his eyes were, not adequate, were not lucky, they were lacking, and trying to put me in a sense of inferiority and stuff. But I didn't respond the same way, because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm used to this attack, I know exactly what to expect, right? And what I started talking about, the perfection, because I was trying to understand that, okay, like, yes, there is the one concept of that this is the role my parents play, they're not gonna change. Well, they might not, but either way, I need to accept this is the role they play, and the role they play, the reason why they play that role, the meaning, because we always have to look for the meaning to understand the bigger picture. Pisces, Sagittarius and Pisces, what is the meaning? The meaning is to step into my self-empowerment, to not seek the validation externally. My Leon is 7th house, and Sun in Taurus, North Node in Taurus, Mars in Taurus, 29 degrees. To not seek the validation externally, to seek it inside, to validate myself, to take my power back, right? The South Node in Scorpio and all that. And especially Saturn being there, the authority, and, my Pluto is in opposition with my Sun, all these kind of things. So anyway, so I was trying to understand it from that point of view. But then I actually, thanks to my soul sister, she pulled a card for me and it said, dig deeper, because this was the obvious understanding that, yes, this is the role these people play, family or not, doesn't matter. This is the role they play. They try to help me to take my power back. But then there was this card that said, dig deeper, go deeper than that. And I was like, okay, what is it? And then I understood that, okay, but why they act in that way, which takes us back to perfection. Because the things I was being judged for was the thing which in the eyes of my parents are not perfect. Why they're not perfect? Because they are attached to certain storyline and also certain values and perceptions of reality that say this is the perfect way. This is the way it needs to be. Why? Because that's how they were conditioned, and this is what they were being judged for, that this is what they failed in. So then they projected onto me, and they mean well. They mean well because they have this certain idea about what life is and what are the values, and what is described as achievement and as good life or whatever. And then if that person they are interacting with is not reflecting or mirroring that or living based on these stories and values and all that, then they're not perfect, they are lacking. And this is something which they experience, where they were being judged for, which very likely their parents experienced, and so on and so forth. There is this societally agreed storyline, which I already was talking about in my Virgo full moon video, this attachment to perfection, because Virgo, Pisces in opposition, we're still in a Pisces season, so I feel this is why it wants to come up once more, this attachment to perfection. And then if this thing that we feel that is perfect and we should be embodying, if we fail to do so, then we project it onto our environment and judge the other person if they are also not doing that. Because it's all subconscious. I don't think anybody is, well, potentially some people are, but in many cases this is not even happening consciously. My parents don't sit there and go like, oh yeah, we expect this to be perfect world, we got judged for it, we didn't manage to do that, so now we judge ourselves, so now we're going to spit this poison onto you and judge you for not doing that, because actually by doing that we want you to achieve that. So then somebody achieved that, so somebody fulfilled this expectation of the society or family line that said this is the perfection. and this is what you're supposed to achieve. This is the Virgo in a low vibration that looks up to Pisces and say, Pisces, you're perfect, I want to be like you. And this is what we see the meaning in life. That there is this something that we came here to achieve, it's perfect, and if we don't get there, we judge ourselves, and then everyone that we interact with, that is mirroring to us that belief system, right? Because I mirror it to my parents, because I'm looking at it just from my perspective, what they do for me, but I completely disregarded what actually I represent in their life. I'm also a mirror to them. And I mirror to them that which is unhealed in them, which is this attachment to this story. So they project the story onto me and I mirror it back to them and say like, this is not my story, this is not my version of perfection, don't care, But that's what triggers them, because they feel that they are not perfect. They felt all these. And I actually had many, many dreams with my parents, interestingly. So there is definitely stuff being trying to figure it out in a dream world through the higher selves, versions of ourselves. But this is what I mean. There is much deeper meaning. Everything goes deeper than that. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper. We can just keep digging. We know we can get lost in a rabbit hole, but what is the meaning? And then suddenly we can see situation very differently. We can look at these people, parents, government representatives, and all these people came from the baby. They all came from the same place. They all started as babies. They all started as little girl, little boy, and when we look at these little babies before they get conditioned and, get traumatized or, made to behave certain way or adapt coping mechanisms that made them to behave certain way, which again, not everything is acceptable. Bullying, abuse, all that is not acceptable, but we need to try to understand, okay, what made this person to be this way? And again, we can go into the rabbit holes, whether the soul is already born evil or the baby is already born evil or what. I don't want to go into these conversations. I don't have the answer for all of this, but I'm just trying to go like, let's dig deeper. Why would people behave the way they do? And then why would that trigger me? And this is how all the wounding is being brought up to the surface, uncovered. The wounding that these people that at this, lifetime play the role of my parents. The wounding that in this lifetime, coming through in the role of my friend or something. Like all these people, literally all the people in our life that we interact with and everything that we interact with exist as a manifestation of our subconscious of conscious mind, manifestation of our higher self, the choices that we made to help us to learn something, to heal, to integrate. So all these people are just playing the roles that they are meant to play, that we assign them, but we also play roles for them. Everything is happening at the same time. So it's not like in separation that this person just triggers me and I get upset and the trigger they bring to the surface is something from long time ago, which is something from past life, which is something that ancestrally got passed on, which is something that collectively is present. But actually it happens, it's 360. It happens each way, every way, and it's affecting everything. So this is where these conversations start from, oh, my parents didn't pick up the phone at the agreed time. I got upset. It ruined my day. Then I had to meditate on it and figure out why am I getting upset. Oh, yeah, this happened a few years ago. This happened multiple times through my life. This happened because when I was a baby, I was being passed on to my grandparents, which is something that I chose as a soul to actually get to the point when I'm 39 years old and understand what this all was about. So this is how we start from something that is very simple on the surface level. Mercury, we identify things from the surface level, but guess what? Mercury is now in Aries and is going to conjunct North Node right after Sun Neptune conjunction, and then Mercury is going to conjunct Chiron 3 times. It's saying we need to go beyond that. We need to look at things with a new, fresh eye and see the wounding that is preventing us from co-creating a different world, co-creating a different experience for ourselves where we are having a very different lives. And why is that? Because there is all this wounding that's hiding, and it's all this wounding that is collectively shared. Because that's why I'm sharing these things, because I can 100% guarantee I'm not the only one having this experience or having, maybe something different, going on for you personally. It looks different, the detail might be different, but the energy is the same. The energy is the same, because we are all energetic being, and the frequency and vibration and energy, and this is what we play in it in the age of Aquarius. This is what we're trying to learn to understand, and then we can go digging. We can go digging into all these multiple facets and multiple lifetimes and multiple angles of looking at things. Just like I said with my parents, this is not just about me. This is not just about me and what am I trying to resolve. This is also about what they're trying to resolve, what is the role they play, and what is the role that me and them and everyone else is playing in this tapestry of life, in this planet Earth, and in this universe, multiverse, cosmos, and source in itself. Everything is connected. We all have a role to play, but we as a soul, we are multidimensional beings. We didn't come here just to do one thing, right? Especially not now in this time and age. Like, everything is so vast, it's so multi-layered. There are all these things that are happening at the same time, even though in our human reality, from our human perception of linear reality, this might look just like an unanswered phone call from me to my parents, but actually the things that are behind that one human manifestation, as a human experience, for us to have the starting point for learning, healing, integrating, and transcending something that goes million layers deep. So this is why I'm sharing this, and the reason why I'm sharing this is because of this topic of we need to learn to come back to balance. Why? Because this is the only way that we're going to create the reality we want to create and experience. Otherwise, we just keep recreating the same reality that comes from our subconscious, from our program, the operating system that has been established long time ago by all these different things, people, circumstances that are unhealed, that are unseen. So that's why they're becoming seen now. They're becoming brought to the surface. And like I said, my dreams were, I never in my entire life I had dreams like this, like so vivid. I remember them, not like every single detail, but this never happened in my life. I never remembered my dreams. I don't even, usually dream, or not like remember dreaming stuff. And then this week in particular, there's been so much. And I actually had another conversation with someone, and that person said, do you think it might be because of your detox? Because when I did my detox, like I said, I was very disappointed because I didn't lose weight. I was like, well, what was it all this for? I was hungry for a week and I didn't even lose any weight, because it was all this ego, and also all this wanting to control and predict, because of the past experience, because of the attachment to the result, attachment to the outcome. But like I said, like I shared previously, when I channeled about it, I was being encouraged, go ahead with it. Then I was being encouraged, persevere, keep going. There are things happening you don't understand, keep going. And then even after that, I was being, said that, well, the ego didn't like it because the ego couldn't control it and the outcome wasn't what the ego expected. But a lot of things did take place, energetically, also because of, I guess, biological reasons for that. I was super going to sleep very early. I slept a lot. And that is, again, like our psychic self, our soul, it's fully awake. I mean, it's awake all the time. But when we are awake as a human, there are all these things we have to interact with regards to our three-dimensional experience. But when we are asleep, as a human body being asleep, that's where the soul is free to do whatever, right? So this is where we don't actually... we don't know to which extent and what is being done when we are asleep, like all this work, all this transmutation of energy, all this sorting out things with the higher selves of other people and co-creating, and all these things that are happening behind the veils, which we don't know. And then also, as I've been sharing, I wake up in the morning so tired. I am much tired in the morning, much more tired after my 7-8 hours sleep than when I'm going to sleep. So, I mean, obviously there are a lot of things happening that I don't remember and I'm unaware of. And this is because there is no more time to just waste. You know, the time is rapidly moving forward, and all these things are happening. Literally everything that is happening for you in your life is an opportunity for this integration and healing of the past, for closing more of the cycles, your own, your ancestral, and collective. Everything is happening at once. We are all working on this together, which is why in everybody's life there could be all these situations that are giving us the opportunity to heal something that happened long time ago, something that has been passed on from the bloodline, whatever, but also something that for sure is a reflection and embodied energy from the collective suffering, because the collective is made of individuals. And this is what I mean. Like, it's just so complex. It's so complex and vast, but it's simple, because we are all one, and we are all working like bees, like honeybees. We are all working towards the same goal, which is completing the cycles of the past and starting a brand new cycle of creating a very different reality on this planet, where our souls will expand in a brand new way. You know, this Sagittarius archetype, we want to go and explore different horizons. What are these horizons? The horizons of freedom, sovereignty, being consciously aware of your spirit, of your soul, the connection, like I said, the human 2.0, the connection between the human self, the ego mind, and the higher mind, ego self, and the soul self, the spirit, right? This is something which hasn't been done, or not to this extent, which, you know, we are co-creating at the moment, before, or not for a long time. And this is where things are shifting, like the experience of human suffering and recreating the same realities, recreating the same experiences and the same sense of struggle. And like, in a sense, it's like I keep saying, that how many people are happy? Most people are just surviving. They are just literally surviving. They're not living, they're surviving. They just like somehow getting through the days, but they're not really living. This needs to end. This is ending. Saturn is now in Pisces. All this old karma has the opportunity to be now completed. So, because these new babies, they are not born with this karma no more. They are not born with the same thing. They already have Saturn in Aquarius, and, you know, now Saturn in Pisces and whatnot. There is a brand new thing happening for them, you know. So we are culminating those cycles. It's happening now in a real time, and I'm just sharing from my own personal, mundane, simple experience how something huge turned up on my doorstep as something completely small, but actually the impact of that something small, if caught and healed and integrated, can create a ripple effect for so much, to create ripple effect for so much healing in the world. And this is just one mundane experience, and is the opportunity for recreating, in a sense, reparenting ourselves and recreating our life, because it's the Cancer Capricorn opposition. We need to feel safe and secure within, to be able to be the authority, to be able to the conscious CEO of our life, because we are that. But in many cases, it's not conscious to us. We think we need that external person, that daddy, you know, the government, the husband, the someone, to do it for us. And that's why we then continuously will keep attracting situations that will make us feel like children, that we are inadequate, we are inferior, we are not in charge, and all this. There is someone out there doing it to us, you know. And it takes us back to this origin. Need to find the place of balance. Because from the place of balance, from that, you know, like you have in the symbol of eternity, right? Like this one. The one right in the middle, that point, right? The one in the middle, that is the void. That is the point from which everything is created, the point of stillness, which was this week. We had no major aspects. All the aspects were done by the moon. Take you back within, take you back inside, to feel it, to see what it is that needs to be balanced, right? And this is what the whole channeled message is about. It is all about that, because in order to create consciously, to create this world which we want to create, the world that we are destined to create, this golden age, this return to oneness, this this world of joy and happiness and love and light and all of this, because this is where we go in as a human collective. This is what we evolving into. In order for that to take place, we need to find the still point, the harmony, the neutralize the past, to create the bridge between the past and the present, from the point of stillness, from the purpose of harmony and balance, and from that the expansion takes place. From that, everything is created. So this is why right now we are being tested. We are being tested in our individual experiences by all these external stimuli, interaction, reminder of the past and all that, which gives us the opportunity for understanding, seeing the meaning, healing, integrating all of that. And also collectively, like I've been saying, the manifestation of everything that came before that is out of balance. So we can seek, how can we balance these scales? How can we come back to the center point? So anyway, this is technically what I've got. This is technically what I've been going through this entire week, just like swimming through the fog of emotions, like very confused, nothing much made sense. All of my, well, not all of them, a lot of my appointments had to get rescheduled, either because of my own dental work, and that even didn't work out. It had to get rescheduled as well because of situation over there. It's all these Pisces, all these, like, don't get too attached, because it's like perfume. It just keeps disappearing. You think it's there, it's steady. No, it just keeps flowing. It just keeps disappearing. Flow with it. And I understand the reason. Now, looking back, I understand the reason why my schedule had to get lighter, why things had to get rescheduled, why things had to get cancelled, or, whatever. Because this was the week for that. This was the week to learn to be still. And I actually observed myself doing that, despite the fact how much meditation I do and how aware I am. I observed the monkey mind going crazy, like, oh my god, I have no client today, I have nothing to do, there is nothing going on astrologically, what am I going to do? All this, like, I need to do something, all this, like, this program just trying to survive, like I need to keep feeding into the same machine, right? And that's when we go like, okay, well, let me go and do my coloring. That's been so helpful for me personally, to do a coloring, because it made my brain to still. The made brain, like, well, okay, let's just focus on this simple thing. What color are you going to choose? What thing you're gonna color today, right? And that's different for different people. You might choose gardening or dancing or just walking, whatever it is. Like, we all have our own things, but whatever it is that brings you to this still point, this point, like, okay, there is no tiger, let's just slow down, let's just focus on this one simple thing. Or like folding clothes, or something completely that doesn't require much of thinking, stuff like that. So I feel this is why this week was like that, because how many people had to adjust their plans, or things didn't work out, or things got disrupted and stuff like that. And this is why, because we are being tested. Okay, what you gonna do with this? How you gonna find the place of balance? How you gonna allow the external environment to completely take you out of whack? Just like me yesterday, just like I said, nobody's got it all figured out. We all have a blind spots. We all still working on something. That's what we came here to do. And if you figure out all your stuff, don't worry, universe will give you more to work with from the collective, So this is what we came here to. This is literally like we are all honeybees. We are all honeybees, because we all came here to work all our life, but not in a way that we were being programmed to believe, to work like a slave, being part of the cog in a wheel, on a hamster wheel, because it's not going anywhere. This is not what we came here to do, burn our life force for that, because it's not actually desired anymore. That's why it makes us feel empty and exhausted when we do things or work in a jobs and stuff which don't hold meaning, right? Because we all have a purpose. What did we come here to do on a soul level, consciously? So anyway, again, long video, and I have a message here, and I actually have a card here. So I'm going to do the card first, because then I want to finish with the message. So this is very interesting. Oh my god, it's 11:47, which is 11:11. Every time I look at the recording, it was like 47:47. Like spirit is really like supporting this conversation, I suppose. But anyway, before I started recording, I have this Shaman Dream deck. I will put in the description. I was shuffling, this card came out, Unmarked Trail. You can see it's like, the stones of balance, 57, number 12, number 3, expansion, Jupiter. So unmarked trail, revelation. And I was going to put it back, but then I was like, because I know this is card that really applies to me right now, but I'm going to read it because perhaps it applies to someone else too. And then I'm going to shuffle and pull one more card now in real time. But this unmarked trail, which is this card, this is what it says. An unprecedented experience, discovery, revelation. You are called now to embark on a sacred journey. The Arthurian knights, in their quest for the Holy Grail, had to make sure to take an unmarked trail that no one had ever followed, or they would not accomplish their goal. Likewise, you must enter the darkest forest of your soul via a route as yet unidentified to find what you seek. The manicured path will bring you only temporary pleasure and later great pain. Stop it. You already know there is no reward at the end of the road you are following. You are only killing time. Pause, breathe, and commit in your heart to a sacred endeavor. Vow to not look for old solutions that might have worked with past challenges. Get out of character, try the outrageous, and keep your quest private. Now is not the time to speak of the voice that called you to embark on the unmarked trail. The time will come. The unmarked trail can be a sign that you have already made a choice, even if you do not want to acknowledge it. Be at peace with what your heart knows to be truth. Your heart has already been made up and your mind will follow. Pack lightly, take in with you only essential beliefs that you know to be trustworthy under all circumstances. The universe has your back. Wow. Now rereading this again after all this that I've been talking about, this makes complete sense. It literally is the same energy. You can't even make this up. But I'm going to pull one more card on air. So see what comes up. Let's see what comes out with it. But yeah, I was guided to use this deck because it's the dream. Spirit of the river. Movement towards adventure. And it's the number 50. 5 is the number of change. I hope you can see it. I know there is a lot of reflection. It's like this, like a fairy in the water. Like, I probably can't see it very well. Yeah, I do apologize. The light is not the best today. But anyway, let's just see it. But it literally is like a fairy. It's like a ballerina in the water, like a fairy in this nebulous space. It's underwater. It's like a water fairy. Spirit of the river. Yeah. Beautiful. It's beautiful. Because this is literally, I'm pretty sure it's going to be spot on with everything else that's been said. Okay. Spirit of the river. Movement towards adventure, addiction to problems, allowing and trusting the current. The spirit of the river invites you to step into the flow, to stop swimming against or avoiding the current. Allow the waters to carry you downstream, away from the eddies and whirlpools. It's time to heed the call of a new adventure waiting for you. Stop working on the problem for a while. The issue is not what it seems. It is your addiction to fixing what has gone bad that is consuming so much of your time. Work to create a greater good, and the bad will resolve itself on its own. There is nothing that you can accomplish with the more efforting, as the situations in your life right now are subject to forces beyond your control. Recognize this, step back, and trust the flow. There is no loss of faith or lack of honor or integrity. It is simply the way things are at this moment. When this card appears, it is time to say yes to the next leg of your journey. Your life is like a river, inevitably and inexorably flowing to the sea, which is your divine destination. Be fearless and release yourself to the rushing water in the middle of the stream. Whatever it is you are holding on to, the feelings, the thoughts, the beliefs about how things are or how they should or could be, can be fixed easily with the power of the river of the spirit. Simply let go and enjoy the thrill of the ride, and all will be well. Well, that's a good confirmation from the spirit, isn't it? To follow the inner guidance. And that really resonates with me with the, like not trying to fix everything, because I again feel this undertone of the perfection, that we want it to be just so, we need to complete it, we need to finish it, but why waste the energy into something that is already dead, that is already gone, it's not serving. And it really, to me, is this, because of the figurine being in the water, allow the universe to guide you. You know, the water, the source, Neptune is the spirit world. So yeah, so this is where we at. So I'm just going to read a channeled message, and then I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay, so I wanted to, my intention, what would my guides like me to share today? And this is what I got. Peace, balance, and harmony are naturally desired states of being. The universe always strives for balance. It's something the soul naturally recognizes as desired way to be. Right now, many things and areas of life are out of balance there on planet Earth. The desire for peace and balance is stronger than ever because of the lack of experience in it. The stronger the desire, the bigger the push for change to take place, so the scales can get balanced once again. For balance, peace, and harmony to reappear, the energies that are preventing those states of being needs to be recognized, healed, and integrated. All these reasons for imbalance and lack of peace and harmony are therefore becoming conscious and present. The soul will always attract that which is needed for correction to be able to take place. Do not be afraid to face your individual and collective shadows. They are coming out of hiding because the desire for the light is stronger than the attachment to the comfort of the familiar ways of coping with the disharmony and imbalance at this point. This is a time of biggest purge and potential for the biggest healing to take place there on planet Earth. The energies had become so imbalanced that the only way forward is to neutralize them and re-establish a new way of being that's in harmony and balance with all its aspects of being. This process will take time, but celebrate the fact that it's happening. As spoken of many times before, the time has been accelerated rapidly, so nothing needs to take as much time as before when this was not the case, not the way of experiencing the life on planet Earth. All that has changed. Everything is shifting, and so is the perception and experience of time. The need for balance is creating a sense of crisis and desperation, in fact, to seek ways of bringing things go back, to seek ways of bringing things back to the neutral point, which is why the still point energies of this week were so necessary, to be able to take a pause and learn to neutralize some situations and emotions connected to those. It's all a balancing act. Universe will always strive for a balance in every situation. The imbalance of the external is a mirror to the imbalance of the internal experiencing of the internal experiencing of reality. For one to change, the other has to change also. The external is a projection, the result of the internal creation. The external is offering a feedback, a mechanism, an opportunity for information gathering, so the internal can adjust accordingly to this manifestation of the internal projection. The change has to come from the internal, from within. The balance, harmony, and sense of peace needs to be sought and found from the within. Only then it will be found in the external. The external will reflect and mirror it back to the source of creation, and thus the internal. The reality is created from the inside out. The outside in is the reflection, the feedback, and the information. So how can you re-establish the sense of balance and harmony in your life? How can you find a way back to your own inner sense of peace? What's preventing you from feeling it now? Everything that's appearing in your life, everything that takes you out of balance, and peace is there to help you, to show you what it is that still needs healing. Remember, universe always strives to achieve the state of homeostasis and balance, so the cause of the opposite will always be shown to be corrected and brought back to balance. That which is happening and being experienced is not a punishment, it's a manifestation of the imbalance. Like everything else, it needs love, light, and compassion to heal. Forgiveness is needed to bring peace and harmony. Understanding the deeper meaning of how universe operates and why things are happening the way they are allows for forgiveness to take place, so the healing can help to reestablish balance and harmony, and so the sense of peace can return also. There's a strong illumination of disconnection from oneness and the desire for returning back to it taking place as a precursor of that which will follow, the beginning of a new cycle and arrival of new energies of creation and co-creation, because nothing is ever separate from everything else. Nothing is ever happening in separation. Everything is connected, and everything is affecting and affected by everything. A new way of being, a new way of interacting with everything there is streaming through and coming forward. A new cycle is beginning, while the old is coexisting in its closing phase of culminating totality. Universe is vast, and so is everything that coexists at the same time, because there is no time and no separation. Things are about to get interesting, so find your balance, find your center, and find your inner peace. Only then you'll be able to find it outside of you as well, as a mirror effect to the energy you already recognize. Become peace, beloved, always. Okay, that's it. And I'm getting a thingy in my ear right now. Okay, we are 1:10:14. So I'm gonna leave it as this. It's a long video, but I hope that it's been helpful and it brought some clarity with regards to the energies we are experiencing at this moment prior to entering into a new astrological year, which is taking place on Tuesday night or Wednesday, depending where you are in the world. And as I mentioned, my solar eclipse and, well, lunar eclipse first. My lunar eclipse video will be coming up next week. I will try to record it early on in the week so I can release it before the weekend, and also my collaborations will be coming up, so stay tuned. And yeah, I wish you all wonderful rest of the weekend, wonderful rest of Pisces season, beautiful entering into a Aries season, and I'll speak to you again soon. Much love everyone, and bye for now.